The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome to the Ask the Expert show, where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I was speaking to a friend of mine today whose brother is actually an attorney. And it was amazing that we spoke today because he is filing bankruptcy. And our expert today is an expert in bankruptcy. And the reason why I bring my friend up is his brother's an attorney. His brother is handling his bankruptcy, and he's still miserable. And I said, but you've got an attorney. You don't have to handle this yourself anymore. And he said, my brother never returns my phone calls. Half the time, I don't even know what's going on. He said, I might not as well have an attorney because the pressure is still there. And the reason I bring this up is that it is so good that if you do have to file bankruptcy, that you have an attorney who's going to be there for you. And, you might not be able to return your call that day, but within, I would say, 24 to 48 hours, he will return your phone call. We've got one of the best bankruptcy attorneys in Chicago. Let me introduce you. He's been with us now for several months. Let me introduce you to attorney Kevin Benjamin. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. I was thinking about you today with my friend, and it's really a shame his brother is a bankruptcy attorney.
I probably know him. Or his brother, I probably know him.
Yeah, he's in Dallas, and
Dallas, okay.
It's so important to have someone representing you. It's a scary thing going through bankruptcy, especially if you've never been through it before. And listen, I know you can't hold their hands for 24 hours a day, but it's nice. I guess just hearing him, he said, I put a call on my brother and he calls me back 5 days later. And he really actually had a very important question. But Kevin, I am so glad that we have you as our expert in bankruptcy law. Tell everybody about yourself and your practice.
Well, my name's Kevin Benjamin. I'm an attorney. I've been concentrating in the areas of debt relief, mostly bankruptcy, for over 30 years now, probably since 1989, if I'm kind of dating myself here. We handle all kinds of, what most people don't understand is there's different chapters of bankruptcy, like this chapter 7, 11, 12, 15, 9. So we handle all of them where a lot of attorneys don't. I could briefly just explain. Chapter 9 is for governments. Chapter 12 is for farmers. Most people don't need these. Chapter 13 is like cross borders. Chapter 11 is like a corporation restructuring, or a person can do it sometimes. Sometimes they have to because there's debt limits, but it's more of a complicated person. Generally speaking, a person does a Chapter 7 or a Chapter 13. A Chapter 7 is quote unquote a straight bankruptcy where you wipe out your debts. Though some debts aren't discharged, like that's child support, alimony, certain taxes, not all, sometimes taxes, debts incurred by fraud. There's a list, we can go over. And there's secured debt and unsecured debt. And then there's priority debt and how you have to pay certain, like student loans, you have to pay them. It's not, you got to list them, but it's not discharged. So there's all kinds of things we could discuss with you. Chapter 13 is like a personal restructuring of debt, the way a corporation does a Chapter 11, but it's simpler, more affordable. You can pay your bills up to 5 years. Even if you could pay more, you don't have to. It's basically it's used a lot to stop foreclosures, to restructure mortgages, maybe strip liens, strip mortgages, strip judgment liens, all kinds of things you could do in Chapter 13 to restructure your car payment. There's all kinds of things. There's different various laws that we always talk about with our clients on a personal consultation. But basically, we do that, and we do tax resolution. A lot of the IRS offer and compromise, installment agreements, penalty abatements, currently not collectible. We could handle tax court for you too. So, we're consumer lawyers, but mostly in debt relief and tax relief, basically. And, there's all kinds of different kinds of people who need bankruptcy, but it's not just bankruptcy getting out of debt, which we do, but there's also restructuring, which people don't understand you could do, and there's tax relief as well.
Kevin, there's no big secret. The economy sucks.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being this bad. And there are so many businesses that are going under. Have you noticed in your business things are different today than they were, say, 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Much different. Well, first of all, like in my career, when times were good, people file bankruptcy because they're getting in debt. When times are bad, they're filing bankruptcy because they can't pay their bills. So there was always people filing for different reasons, because the economy and the way this country is everyone's, no money down loans, or the ninja loans, the mortgages, stated income, credit card, teaser rate, 0%, but now it's 30% after so there's always people are trapped into getting into debt. And so people always file. Now, 3 years or so ago during COVID, it was a totally different story. Because of the pandemic, nobody was filing bankruptcy because nobody had to. The courts were, kind of shut down or by Zoom, but some of the state court, the foreclosure actions were frozen. There were forbearances on the mortgage arrears. Lawsuits were stopped, so no one's getting, garnishment or wages. Collection activity stopped. So, and then the government was giving everybody money with the unemployment and the checks and the stimulus money, all that kind of stuff. So, nobody was actually filing. So that's obviously the party's over, and people are being sued again. They're being garnished. They're in foreclosure. Foreclosures are up a lot, especially in Chicago and Illinois. Bankruptcy filings are up, personal and business. So, even the businesses have like the government loans, SBA loans, economic development loans. Some of them are forgiven, like the payroll protection, the PPP, but other loans are not. And people are having a tough time making these payments, especially with the economy going the way it is. So yeah, things are a lot different than it was 3 years ago. A lot of people, consumers and businesses, are in trouble, and they need to talk about relief.
I never hear anymore two real estate phrases. One is, I never hear loan modification anymore, and I never hear short sale anymore. Why is that?
Yeah, well, during the big crisis, with back in 2008, when everything was going down, short sales were real, prevailing, real popular. What was the other one you're talking about?
Loan modification.
Loan modifications. Well, that's funny because I had a client just leave here just now. There was a sale date on Friday. We're actually in a dispute. We filed a case to stop the sale, and they tried to go through with the sale anyway, which is a violation of the automatic stay. Different issue. But at the same time that they're trying to sell the property, they're offering her a loan modification, right? So it's called dual tracking. Back in the day, there's two kinds of foreclosure states. Lien, or the lien states, which like Illinois, where you got to actually sue, get a judgment and go to court and stuff like that. And there's the trust states where it's different, but most states are like Illinois. So you would be in foreclosure, and there's a certain time period before they can get the house. But then they're saying, oh, you're in a loan modification, a trial period, just do this. So you don't need a lawyer. So meanwhile, they're just tick, tick, tick on the clock, trying to get to the sale date before somebody's trying to stop it. And that was called dual tracking. So that was forbidden years ago. But here we are. I'm arguing with this other lawyer Friday. It's like, not only are you violating the stay, you're actually, your client actually offered a loan mod. So my client came in today, and the one hand doesn't know what the other one's doing. So we're going to proceed. So, but that's, like you said, there's not a lot of loan mods anymore, because a lot of people got forbearances during COVID, and the loan mod is a bunch of crap, because sometimes it's a loan mod, but the payment's higher. So that doesn't really help you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they give you what's called the trial payment. What does that mean? You make 3 payments, and then they make you think, oh, you make 3 payments and then it goes through. No, it's still not a permanent loan modification. They could turn it down for a variety of reasons. I mean, think about it. Give me the loan modification. If I don't make a payment, then it's over. What's this trial period stuff? It's just kind of a joke. But there are some of them, and by coincidence, just an hour ago, my client left, and we're getting the paperwork on that one. So we're going to accept that one, because they're actually lowering the payment, and that was also the issue we just had. But a lot of it's because of COVID. When they're doing forbearances and taking the arrears and putting them in the back end, a lot of people aren't in foreclosure, and then a lot of people had loan mods from years before, where sometimes they just forgive temporarily some of the principles, how they work it really. So then people get confused. Oh, I only owe $240,000. Well, they forgave $100,000 in principal that you owe in X amount of years. So you really owe $340, still not $240. But people don't know what they're doing, what they signed from years ago. So between the forbearances and the ones they got before, and the fact that a lot of people know they're just a bunch of BS right now, sometimes they're good. Don't get me wrong here. I mean, sometimes it works, but it's not like it was before with the short sales and everyone's underwater. Everything's crashing. See, in 2005, they changed the laws too. What happened was, you used to be able to restructure your mortgage in bankruptcy. If you're underwater, you just rewrite the mortgage, and you still can.
Wow.
Investment property.
Didn't know that.
Well, but investment property, second homes, farmland. Any kind of property except one, your house, the only one you care about, right? They call it the anti-modification provision. And if your property is secured solely by the mortgage, and there's ways around that, because a lot of times it's not secured just by the mortgage, you can't cram it down. So all they had to do during the financial crisis was change that and let people restructure, instead of this loan mod stuff and trial payments and all this ridiculous stuff with bailout money to go on all these banks. You could have done it with not one penny of taxpayer dollars, but that's a whole other issue. But so the people were doing mortgage refinancing, and as long as people still had equity and they were sucking that out with the no doc loans, ninja loans, stated income loans, the economy was still going. And then the music stops, and not everyone has a chair, right? So then everyone went into this, short sale mode. All the mortgage brokers who weren't making money, now they're doing short sales. You know what I'm saying? But they don't know how to do them. And people don't understand, a short sale, you don't get any money out of it. So sometimes you can just file bankruptcy and walk away. What are you doing a short sale for? If you're underwater and if you're not getting property, what's the point? You're not making any money on this thing. And if you file bankruptcy, there's no tax consequence. If you do a short sale and you say you forgive $100,000 in underwater, and that's a taxable event. Now, you got to talk to your accountant. Maybe there's maybe your insolvent anyway, and maybe it's not taxable for some people. But in bankruptcy, you just walk away. There's no tax consequence. You just move on. As a matter of fact, in bankruptcy, you want the house gone because you don't want it in your name anymore. So there's no point in doing a short sale. The only person who was making money on the short sales were the realtors were saying do a short sale because they want to make a commission. The mortgage guys were now doing the short sale guys. They're just trying to make a fee, right? So, I'd have realtors telling the clients, oh, well, we're going to sell your house. I tell them for what? So they can make a 6% commission, and it's dragging on. And meanwhile, your house is vacant maybe, and there's someone's breaking in. You're still paying insurance, or the insurance lapsed, and now someone got hurt and they're suing you. And then oftentimes in the foreclosures, they would say they're foreclosure and going to sale. And at the end of the day, the last minute, the banks would say, I don't want the property. Meanwhile, somebody moved out. They're gone. The house is vacant. They think it's gone. It's still in their name. They're getting housing violations, criminal violations, fines. People are breaking into it. It's ridiculous. So there's no point in the short sale. So people kind of caught on to that. So that's not the thing anymore. Listen, if you got a problem, you deal with it. Either restructure it in bankruptcy if you can. You can work out. The thing with loan mods now is a lot of courts now, and finally Illinois came around too, you could do it inside the court, inside your case. They have various programs. So now you have some kind of court supervision at least, or court, some assistance or, someone to go to while you're doing the loan mod, instead of trying to do it outside of court where the bank says, I never got your package. I never got your documents. I don't know. They're making stuff up. So a lot of times now you could try a loan modification inside the court. You got a little court supervision now, which kind of helps. But oftentimes you don't need it, because if you restructure your debt, your car payment, or you're getting rid of your credit card payments, you could actually afford the mortgage. You just don't know you can, because you're making all these other payments that I can either restructure or don't have to. Or maybe you had two mortgages, and depending on your equity, you could strip one, make it unsecured. So you're paying $1,000 on the first mortgage and $300 on the second mortgage. I'm just making this up. So your payment is $1,300. You strip one, now it's $1,000 instead of $300. So there's your loan mod right there. You know what I'm saying? And you restructure the car, get rid of the credit card debt you're paying $400, $500, $600 on. Next thing you know, you can afford the house. You know what I'm saying? So and everyone's happy.
Yeah, we get so many questions about keeping your assets if you're filing for bankruptcy.
Sure.
Is that possible?
Oh, well, absolutely. First of all, you don't really file a case unless you're going to lose something that you want to lose. Okay. So like Chapter 13, forget about the 9, 12, 11. Let's talk about the 7 or 13, which is most of the cases for consumer. Okay. So in a Chapter 13, you keep everything. You could have equity, gold bars, whatever you have. It's called a liquidation analysis. And basically how much you have, it just dictates how much you got to pay back to the unsecured creditors. But if you do it 100%, you could have $500,000 equity or more in the house. Nobody cares, because you're paying back your bills. Sometimes you only have a certain amount, maybe $30,000 non-exempt. You owe $100,000, for example. Well, now you could do 30 cents on the dollar and still keep all your assets. Okay. Now in Chapter 7, bankruptcy, it's federal law, but it's state exemptions. Illinois is not great on the exemptions. There's states that are better. But for example, you keep like certain amount of equity in your house, a certain amount of equity in your car. They have a 4,000 wild card exemption. So as you list your assets, you claim your exemptions. So a case never gets filed until we know that everything is exempt. Or like I had some cases, just went to the trustee meetings last week. We knew there was a lot of equity, but also a lot of debt. So to liquidate, the trustee really has to have a meaningful distribution for creditors. So just because you're over the exemptions doesn't mean you're going to lose anything, but that's why you need a professional to say, what's the risk here, if anything? So basically, usually there's no one exempt, or it's minor. You go for it. Sometimes it's more equity, but we know based upon the debt, the percentages, that it's going to work out. And you could do that. Or sometimes maybe there's an exempt asset that's like, hey, maybe it's 20 grand, but you owe 300 grand. And you're like, well, if they take it, they take it, and you're out of 300 grand. So that's an informed decision somebody would make in that case. But oftentimes, sometimes you could exempt that too. So technically, a Chapter 7 is a liquidation, but you don't get liquidated because you know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Or if you're going to have an asset liquidated, you're kind of aware that maybe this one gets liquidated, maybe not, but you know what you're keeping and what you're not, and what your risk is. So you don't just file, like people do pro se, or they go online with these softwares, whatever, and they think that filing bankruptcy is just filling out like a form. You're going to get screwed, because once you file Chapter 7, you can't have it dismissed. So let's say I got the houses, and maybe you didn't even disclose it, right? You did it yourself. No one's stupid. They do it. They just check. You know what I'm saying? And, okay, I'll have my case dismissed. No, you won't. They're taking your house now, taking your asset that you're hiding. Now you're being liquidated. Not to mention bankruptcy fraud and maybe $250,000 fine, and maybe some jail time. So things get people aren't as smart as they think, and the trustees aren't dumb, and the court is not dumb. And what people don't get is oftentimes there's like an ex-spouse, ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-partner. Somebody's pissed off. They may show up at the meeting of creditors and start talking, and you'd be surprised what comes up. So people who do it themselves don't know how to take the exemptions and what they're risking. That's like flying blind. That's just crazy. You know what I'm saying? So you talk to a professional attorney. We'll tell you about the exemptions, what it is, what it's not. We'll also help you value it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I have clients, my property's worth 100 grand. I'm like, it's worth 500,000. You know what I'm saying? So we help you, do it, and also other assets are the opposite. Like my client today, she's valuing certain assets that are way more than it's actually worth. You know what I'm saying? So we could help her, but that way you have it under control. Otherwise, you file a Chapter 13. It's safe. You can always convert a case from a 13 to a 7 as long as you file in good faith. Maybe the payments are too high. Maybe you lost your job or something like that, or maybe you just want to see maybe you're keeping a certain asset. You did a 13, but now you didn't even care anymore. You just want to move to Florida or whatever you want to do. So all kinds of differences. In a Chapter 13, it goes 3 to 5 years. We're your attorney for the whole time. So things change over 3 to 5 years. That's why you call us. Hey, maybe you got to amend the budget. Maybe you got to amend the plan. Maybe you're converting the case. Maybe you got behind with the trustee. We have to refile. Maybe we're catching up. Maybe someone's suing you. We got to defend you. So it's all kinds of things. But it's very affordable, though. I mean, Chapter 7, you can make payments on attorney fees. Chapter 13 is regulated in our district. The attorney fees are the same whether you're hire us or anybody else. The contracts are the same because it's the court contract. And oftentimes you pay some money up front and take most of the attorney fees in the case, which helps people consolidate that as well, because Chapter 13 is kind of a court-ordered bill consolidation. So it's very affordable and very useful tool for people. And because it's voluntary, you could have it converted or even dismissed as long as you file in good faith. You can dismiss a 13, but not a Chapter 7. That's why Chapter 7, you don't want to file that blind. You definitely need somebody to help you.
Well, Kevin, I got to tell you, I'm looking down here at the clock and I'm going, there's no way. But I got to tell you, this show goes by so fast. Tell everybody how they can contact you.
My phone number is 312-853-3100. Our webpage is benjaminlaw.com. You can email us at attorneys, plural, at benjaminlaw.com. Or you could just go to the webpage and there's a contact list, and you just fill out the contact list and we'll call you. Or you could just call us, 312-853-3100. Looking forward to helping you.
Kevin's with us every month.
Yeah.
Kevin's with us every month. And actually, we're doing another show together tomorrow on tax resolution. I'm excited about. But Kevin, thank you so much. God, you're amazing, bro. I mean, it goes by so fast. I'm sitting here. You should have been a professor. That's what you should.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. It's
Peter
Kevin
Mo.
Benjamin.
Kevin Benjamin.
He's a bankruptcy attorney. He also handles tax resolution. We're going to go to break. When we come back, one of my favorite shows, Stop Snoring. We'll be right back.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
And we are back. Boy, I always think about the opening for my next guest. She's been with us for about 6 months, and I have to tell you, this is probably one of my favorite shows. And the reason why is I probably still do, because you can't really get rid of it, but I have got sleep apnea. And people would tell me how loud I snored. And for you snorers out there, you know what that means. And you would deny it because you didn't hear it. Well, I got to where I heard it. It would actually wake me up. And in the past, there was only one thing to do, and that was to go do a sleep test, which I did. And they would prescribe what's called a CPAP machine. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There is nothing good about a CPAP machine, and except for it does help you to stop snoring. So I got the CPAP machine, and it's been the most uncomfortable thing I've ever had, but I've had to live with it. And then I met our next guest, Janet Bennett, and she had a different technique that would help you to stop snoring. And I got to tell you, I didn't really buy into it because how come I haven't heard of this before? But I said, you know what? I have nothing to lose. And I tried her concept. And I'm telling you all this because we're going to be talking about stop snoring today. She has a technique that she has developed. And the reason why I'm starting off with this long opening is it works for me. I do not wear my CPAP machine anymore. Let me introduce you, our longtime expert, Janet Bennett. Good afternoon,
Hello.
Janet.
Hey.
I can't help myself because, Janet, if you're a snorer and you've had to wear a CPAP machine and somebody comes from out of the blue with techniques to get you to stop snoring, to me, that is the greatest thing in the world. I mean, I haven't had my CPAP machine on in probably 3 weeks, maybe a month now.
That's great.
What you've developed is amazing. And I guess let's start off, first of all, tell people about your practice and how you developed this.
Okay. Okay, so I am Janet Bennett, speech pathologist, and I'm so glad to be here to be able to share this with you. Yeah, it's been quite a ride since 2003. I was treating a 14-year-old football player for a tongue thrust. I don't know if you know what a tongue thrust is, but it's when
You're
you
going to
swallow.
tell us.
I am. I am. Quickly. A tongue thrust is
I didn't know what it was.
when you don't swallow correctly. See, and you had a tongue thrust, Steve, and you
I
didn't know what
didn't
it
even
was.
know
So,
it.
I mean, that's people usually don't know. But anyway, it's when you've seen people with buck teeth or an open bite where their teeth don't come together. So that means that when they swallow, they have been pushing their tongue against the back of their teeth or coming between their teeth. The tongue is stronger than metal, let me tell you. So, yeah, even orthodontists who put braces on people can't always close up all the spaces as long as that person has a tongue thrust. So I just trained them how to swallow differently from a different place so that their tongue doesn't hit their teeth. Okay, enough about tongue thrust. But anyway, this kid, Adam, I had developed this 7-week program, and he and I had done 2 weeks of the program, and it's just tongue exercises, right? Because I wanted to teach him how to swallow differently, and you have to do tongue exercises. Thank goodness there are muscles in your tongue. And so the third lesson, his mom came in my office and she said, Janet, what are you doing to Adam? And I said, I don't know. What do you mean? And she said, well, he's always been the loudest snorer in the world. He rattled our windows and now he's not making a sound. I was shocked. I didn't know anything about snoring. So, but I could appreciate
And
that
I
you
didn't
went.
know kids snore, Janet. You know that? I did not know that kids can snore.
Well, yeah. If your mouth is open and you're asleep and
Yeah.
you're laying your head on the pillow, you're really not sleeping well, and I'll tell you about that. But yeah, it doesn't matter what age you are, you know. And I think lots of times this mouth breathing thing starts. You might as a kid, you might have a lot of nose problems where you can't breathe through your nose, and so you get so used to having to open your mouth to breathe that you get in the habit of doing that. But anyway, there are lots of different reasons why, but mouth breathing really is the culprit. And so what I've found is if I can teach someone how to keep their mouth closed while they're sleeping, lips closed, and train them to keep their tongue on the roof of their mouth, then that stops their snoring. Now, I want to go back to what you said about sleep apnea. The fact that you're not on a CPAP machine anymore, some people might be saying, oh, that's not good, because we know your heart stops every time you stop breathing when you have sleep apnea.
Yes.
Okay, when you're trying to sleep and your tongue has clogged up your airway, you've got to go, and your significant other is slapping you around trying to wake you up. Anyway, so it's really important to understand, Steve, since you've told everyone you're not using your CPAP anymore, I want them to understand that you've learned how to sleep with your lips closed. And so
Yes.
that means you aren't snoring anymore. And snoring, the way sleep apnea comes about is if you snore, you keep doing it for a long time, you get louder, and soon one day your tongue closes up your entire airway. That's sleep apnea. So let's back up. If we stop you from snoring, keep your lips closed, there's no way you can get sleep apnea. So you're good. I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to do with that machine, but still, that's the way it works. And it's easy. It's as easy as it sounds. Learn how to stop snoring, and you don't have to worry about the sleep apnea. So before I go any further with that, I want our listeners and the people who are watching us to kind of listen to what I'm going to say about symptoms. I want you to decide. You might be thinking, well, I don't know if I need this kind of program or not. So I'm going to tell you what kind of symptoms you might have that would indicate that you could benefit from tongue exercises to strengthen your tongue and teach you to breathe through your nose. That's all it is. It takes 7 weeks. Quick. Okay. So you may, when you wake up in the morning, do you wake up with a dry mouth? Do you wake? Now, I've asked that to people before, and sometimes they'll say, well, no, because during the middle of the night, I got up and drank a whole 16-ounce bottle of
Right.
water. So you've got to think about those things. Anyway, so when you wake up in the morning, do you sometimes have a sore throat that goes away quickly, or a headache that goes away quickly? Do you wake up tired? So if you're in the bed for at least 7 or 8 hours and you think you're sleeping and you wake up tired, that doesn't make sense. Why would that happen? So what happens whenever you're mouth breathing and trying to sleep is that our body makes this gas called nitric oxide. And it is what our body needs while we're sleeping to rejuvenate your body. It touches just about every organ, I think, and regulates and stimulates. I'm not a doctor, like I said, but your body needs it. And the thing is, if you're breathing through your mouth, you aren't getting nitric oxide because it's made up here in the sinus area. And so if you're breathing through your mouth, you can't have access to that. And for that reason, when you're sleeping, like right now, you're thinking, oh yeah, I sleep okay, I'm all right. You cannot get into REM sleep. Now you think about that. We all know what REM sleep is. That's the good sleep that helps you get your body ready for the next day. You know, make sure blood flowing correctly, enough oxygen in your blood, all that good stuff. So yeah, so that's very important. If you're breathing through your mouth. If you breathe through your nose, you do have access to that nitric oxide. And so that's what helps you sleep better. So I digress. Let's see. Do you ever wake up with aches and pains in your neck? Could be the way you're sleeping, or mouth breathing has so much to do with everything. When you get that cold, dirty air in your mouth, you're just not doing your body any good. Do you ever have daytime sleepiness, like right after lunch, maybe around 1 o'clock? You start getting sleepy and groggy. And anyway, so when you learn how to breathe through your nose, you aren't going to get sleepy during the daytime. That's huge for some people. Some people have to take a nap every day.
It's like deja vu for me whenever you do
I'm
this, because I'm going,
thinking back,
yes,
okay.
yes.
And you're going, yeah, I did that. Now, some people have asthma. Now, I'm not going to say that mouth breathing causes asthma. But what I am going to say is that when you mouth breathe, you are breathing in cold, dirty air. And that probably makes that asthma a lot worse. Okay. So if you can imagine changing that and getting warm, clean air in your nose, no telling what could happen with your asthma. Some people have heartburn, acid reflux. These are all connected with mouth. Yeah, with mouth breathing. A lot of people have phlegm in the back of their throat. A lot of people complain about that. Some it's thicker than others, but the truth about phlegm is mostly, I think, maybe 90% water. And so mouth breathing makes that phlegm thicker. Now that's easy to understand. Okay. So if you like waking up with that phlegm, you keep breathing through your mouth. All right.
I would have to clear my throat every morning for
Right.
about 10 minutes.
Right. Right. A lot of people have trouble concentrating during the day because they didn't sleep well. I have to tell a story about my grandpa. My grandpa sat over in the corner on the other side of the room in his big chair, you know, leaning back with his mouth open, snoring. And the grandkids, all of us were at Granny's house a lot. And we'd say, oh, listen to Grandpa. He's sleeping like a log. Well, we were brought up to think that if you're snoring, that means you're sleeping.
Yes.
And it's the very opposite. There you go. It's the opposite. I wish I'd known then. Of course, that Grandpa probably wouldn't have believed me. But anyway, let's see. Lots of times people have bad dreams, and that has to do with mouth breathing too. You might cough after eating, and that's because the way you swallow, remember, has a lot to do with it. And if you don't swallow correctly with your tongue on the roof of your mouth, right behind your teeth, then you are probably going to have a weak swallow. Some people complain about having, it feels like something stuck in my throat, when there might be some crumbs stuck in your throat. But if you go to your doctor, here's what's going to happen. Your PCP is going to say, I don't know what that is. I'll refer you to an ENT doctor or otolaryngologist. Right. So you go to that doctor and they put that thing down your nose so that they can look at your your vocal cords and your larynx and get you to say, ah, e, all that stuff. And they pull it out and they say, looks fine to me. Everything's working correctly. And I hope it's not still happening, but I bet it is. If you've complained about something in your throat and he or she puts something down there and they don't see anything, they think that you might not be all there, and they might send you to a psychiatrist. They might send you to a psychiatrist. Okay, and that just makes me angry. And so when they call me, I say, you have called the right place at the right time. I believe you. Yes, there are probably a couple of crumbs in there somewhere, because if they swallow weak, their swallow, think about this, they want food to go down. And if they're pushing against nothing, really, then their swallow is too weak to have enough oomph to push that down. So it goes all the way down quickly. So anyway, that is easily remedied. Some people have excessive belching. Some people feel bloated. I remember growing up, I didn't chew my food with my mouth open because my mom would have killed me. But a lot of kids did. And the parents, during mealtime, it was the whole time, Johnny, close your lips while you're eating. And they're just smacking their lips. Well, now we know that whenever they're doing that, they are actually breathing. See, when you chew your food, your lips are supposed to be closed. Well, you have to breathe through your nose. If you're in the habit of mouth breathing, you can't chew that whole piece of hamburger with your lips closed. It scares you. You don't have enough air. So you have to smack your lips to get air in. And when you do that, after it's all said and done, you may have a bellyache because you sucked in too much air. Or you may feel bloated. A lot of adults, well, I guess kids too, feel bloated a lot. And that's probably why. It's called air gulping or aerophagia, a couple of names for it. But all of these things are easily remedied whenever you get my program, do the tongue exercises for 7 weeks. You have to practice 2 times a day, though. Doesn't take but about 10 or 15 minutes. Easy. Let's see what else. You might wake up and every morning when you wake up, your sheets are all messy, all over the place. Some people complain that their blankets on the floor, or, it just means you're a restless sleeper. And that's because you're breathing through your mouth. I keep going back to that. Who would have thought that one little thing could cause so many problems?
Yeah, I had, it was called restless leg.
Restless leg. They are now
but
called.
I haven't had it.
They've always said restless leg syndrome is a neurological problem. And, when people do my exercises and they tell me, hey, my restless legs have stopped. Well, all these years I've been thinking, well, how in the world is it a neurological problem? Because my exercises are not going to help neurological problems. So there must be more to the restless legs. So nowadays they are calling restless leg syndrome a sleep deprivation symptom. Okay. So that makes sense. And when people stop breathing through their mouth, they stop wiggling around, and you'll wake up one morning and your sheets are all nice and straight. Okay, let's see what else. A lot of people get up during the night to go to the bathroom maybe 5 times. You're allowed once. So if you get up more than once a night, then you're getting up too often. And the reason is going to be found to be mouth breathing. Let's see. I do want to throw this out because maybe our listeners and people watching us might be thinking, well, my doctor's never talked to me about mouth breathing. And yeah, I think it's strange too. That needs to be the first question that a doctor asks. Look at all these problems that I've mentioned. Every one of them, a doctor could have put some kind of pill and medicine, given some kind of medicine to you for it, or sent you to somebody else to give you
strips on your nose.
That's right. Yeah. And so
Janet, those strips.
I know. But I've never understood why doctors don't ask when they first meet their new patient, do you breathe through your mouth or through your nose?
Right.
Because if they would find out that they're mouth breathers from the beginning of that relationship, it would be so much better. However, then they couldn't refer out to friends in the other areas of medicine. And, I don't even have to say it. But let's see, some people have a chronic cough. Some people to clear their throat a lot. And that's because they're not swallowing correctly. It's just not a strong swallow. And ADHD. I think back in 2003, whenever I discovered this, I believe that maybe only 86% of those children who were diagnosed with ADHD actually were just sleep deprived. And they end up being on all those drugs. Okay? That's a huge problem. I'm hoping it's less than 86% nowadays, but if you're going to take your kid to get ADHD medicine or whatever, also find out if they're breathing through their mouth. If that's all you have to find out as a parent or as an adult about yourself, if you are breathing through your mouth, you need to attack that problem first and then see what's left over to treat. That I think that would be a surprise, a nice surprise. Let's see. What else? Okay, so those of you listening and watching right now, I want you to think about where your tongue is in your mouth right now. Is it laying on the bottom? Is it kind of like a helicopter and hovering in the middle? Or is it up on the roof of your mouth? Where is your tongue right now? Because it should be resting if you're not talking or eating or drinking or laughing, whatever. And your tongue, while it's resting, should be on the roof of your mouth. Okay, so if it's not, you need to look into that. A lot of people have extra anxiety that they don't need to have. They don't know why they have it. They don't know how to get rid of it. I mean, you can pop some pills and, but you're still going to have a lot of anxiety maybe. But we found that whenever a person stops mouth breathing, here again, I keep going back to it, the anxiety lessens. It calms you to start breathing through your nose. Excuse me. It really
Janet,
does.
we've only got about 3 minutes left. First, I
Oh
want to make
my.
sure
Okay.
time goes by fast.
I know. Well,
I
let me
want to
say
make
right
sure,
quick.
first of all, people know how to reach you.
Okay. It is the program is available online, and you can go to www.ijustwanttosleep.com. You'll remember that. I just want to sleep. And there's another one, www.correctmytonguethrust.com. There's a lot of educational videos on there that would help you understand better. My number is 828-273-9888. And this is a very easy program online. You have instructions, you can see everything, and you can email me at author, AUTHOR, at ijustwanttosleep.com. I will answer your call. I will answer your email. Any questions that you have, I'd love to talk to you.
Janet, all I can say is you're a lifesaver. You changed my whole life, and I
You
am
did the
so
work.
blessed.
You
Yeah,
did
but I
the
wouldn't
work.
have known how to do it if it hadn't been for your techniques. Janet Bennett, thank you so much, Janet. Happy
Thank you.
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and everybody else. Thanks.
We'll see you again. Thank you, Janet.
Okay.
That was
Bye-bye.
Janet Bennett. Oh my God, she really helped me so much. And that's it for today's show. We'll be back again next week. Everybody have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.